Hi, I'm Angela Weddle. I'm a visual artist who works primarily in drawing-based media, digital art, painting, printmaking, and poetry. And this is Una Plática. I've always considered myself an artist ever since I was 4, and I've always drawn my whole life. So I don't know if there was a specific person who inspired me in that sense, but I guess you could say throughout my life there have been several people and institutions. So my mother, who always encouraged me, and even though I didn't know my father, I knew that he was an artist, and there were a couple of his drawings she saved, so that was there. Outside of that, co-workers, friends of hers, that gave me some of my first real quality art supplies when I was around 12, and like getting real charcoal, real, art papers, and going to, an arts high school, and just being fortunate to grow up in a city, being from New Orleans, that had art all around me and music, and beyond that, I think seeing a drawing that a student did, I didn't know the student in my church. It was being used as a banner for a youth portion of it, and I didn't know who did the drawing, just that it was a teenager. But I remember hearing the name of the arts high school I would later go to, and I was probably around 10 or 11 at this time, and sort of, there were just all of these little synchronicities around that. Where like, I want to do that, I want to, get to that level, and then just making it happen. Yes, so I am from New Orleans. I am Louisiana Creole. I am also biracial. My father is white, but I didn't grow up with my father. So it was just my mother and I. They got divorced before I was born, probably for the best. But I am a Creole, and that's the culture I grew up in. So something that people don't know about me is that, I guess, our artistic process-wise, I struggled with perspective for 10 years, and this, at the time, I didn't understand why I could, get the values right and the shading right and all of, the stuff and the colors. And I intellectually understood what I was supposed to do with perspective, but I couldn't do it, and that was because of right hemisphere brain damage and cerebral palsy, because I'm not supposed to be able to draw, but I've always been able to. And so, although people know that, I have cerebral palsy and maybe a little bit of how it interacts, they don't know how it sort of, I think, affects me visually, and sort of my process of the mediums I work with, the mediums I choose to use. And I guess finally something I came across a sort of, actually it was a tutorial somewhere on some website that probably doesn't exist anymore, and it was a little bit different than and then it clicked, and once it clicked, that was it. But I guess beyond that, I'm very persistent, because I was determined to figure it out, even if that took 10 years, and I probably didn't figure it out till a little bit after I graduated high school. There's so many great programs that Central presents. I guess my favorite, just because it was unique and it was something that, even though it is just a Dia de los Muertos, because coming from New Orleans, we kind of have our own things, but they're different cultures, but they're similar, and seeing the altars, I think, number one, the altars are beautiful, they're works of art and in themselves, but as a person who's had a lot of loss in my life, who was raised Catholic, all of these things, and thinking about altars kind of, like the St. Joseph's altar and other altars that would be in churches in New Orleans, even though these are altars built by the people and by the community as artists, I think that was something that I found really unique. It really resonated with me. But all of the programs, including the children's art shows and all of these programs, I think are vital for the community. I absolutely believe that it's important to have organizations like Central Cultural Arts Line in the community. We have to have community organizations that speak to the people who make up the culture and society we live in. We have to support marginalized communities. We have to give space and voice to the culture makers and the people who bear witness. The advice I would give to an artist who is thinking about, taking this to a professional level, a career, is to number one, have a thick skin, to learn how to accept critique and to critique your own work, to play and explore it and have fun. Do not buy into the myth of suffering. There's enough suffering in life to go around for all of us that you don't need to do that to have your art special, to be special. To learn about business, learn about contracts. Early on, do not undervalue yourself. I mean, you want to be realistic, but you want to keep, push yourself, but learn about contracts. Get half your money up front for commissions. Learn to print contracts, learn to sign them, read everything. Don't enter into anything without reading and understanding it. Learn about your taxes and everything you need to do, because if you're doing it professionally, all professional means is that you're doing something for money. The word amateur means to love. So if you're going to sell it, it doesn't mean you don't love it, but you need to think of it as a business. Yeah, the pieces I did for Centro's Mujeres de Aztlán exhibit, they were both pen and ink drawings, and they were both self-portraits. And in this case, they are self-portraits of me traveling. In one, I'm hiking, and I'm actually standing about 500 feet above the Mississippi River in Wisconsin, overlooking 3 states of Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Iowa. And in the other, I'm in an abandoned plane. But they're not just about travel. Being disabled, being Black, there's not enough disabled people in nature, Black people in nature, Black women and disabled women in nature, and I think it's something that often feels off limits. As somebody who can't drive, who has mobility issues, anytime I get the chance to travel, I take it, and that includes pushing myself to do things that are risky, like hiking, like climbing things when, I'm a fall risk, when I have directional issues. But beyond that, they were done while my mother was in the hospital. My mother's 80 with a lot of health problems, and there were a lot of other things going on, and it's just sort of the idea that we don't choose, the hand we're dealt. We don't choose how we come in the world, but even if all your parts don't maybe work typically, you know, you have to make the best of it. So, and one piece is called the airplane take these broken wings, because I often do feel like I've kind of been given, you know, this sort of body without good instructions, or without an operating manual, or with some parts that maybe, you know, didn't come from the best factory. But, you know, I'm going to find a way to fly anyway, and I want people to feel like they too can do that.